swing. We're very, very happy to have you as a guest. We know that you have very valuable insight. And today I know we're going to be talking about professional in-game arena hosting and how one takes those steps into becoming a professional. But until then, do you mind diving into a little bit about yourself so our audience knows who you are?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, first of all, for having me on your show. It's pretty awesome to see you, Isabella, go from, a former Lightning girl to now taking your dreams and aspirations to the Big Apple and doing what you've done. It's pretty awesome to see that. So congratulations to you first and foremost. And Alex, it is fantastic to meet you as well. So for me, just a quick kind of, jaunt into my background. I am a graduate of the University of South Florida here in Tampa. I moved down to Florida when I was 16, heading into my 17th birthday from the Washington, D.C. area where I was born and raised, and literally sacrificed my senior year of high school to establish residency here in Florida because I knew I wanted to go to the University of South Florida. So I had good enough grades that that vision was going to become a reality, and I sacrificed all that to move down here to Florida and got into the University of South Florida, and which was awesome for my family because I was an in-state resident. So coming from DC to Florida, not having to pay that out-of-state tuition was a huge thing. But went to USF and got my degree at USF in mass communications. I was a programming and production major with a minor in business. And when I was a senior at USF, there was a new radio station here in Tampa, Wild 98.7, and it was like a startup, almost like a pirate radio station, with the way that the radio station started with just playing the song Wild Thing over and over and over again. And people were, there was a buzz in the city of who are these guys playing this Wild Thing song over and over again. And this radio station was born where they literally thought these two kids had hijacked their dad's boat. These guys, Josh and Brian, these two stoner dudes, had jacked their dad's boat, and they were literally broadcasting a pirate signal from the waters of Tampa Bay. And everybody remembers that's how the station launched, but it was all just a show. It was all just a facade to launch this wild party station. And I was a senior at USF when this radio station kind of was being birthed, and having a background writing for a local hip hop magazine in Tampa. When I was in college, I was doing music reviews while I was at USF. So I kind of had a little bit of my foot was kind of in the scene, so to speak. And I had an internship at USF in radio, working for an AM radio station, which is actually how I got my start in radio. And we'll get into that in here in a little bit. But I was an intern for this morning show, which kind of gave me some experience in the radio industry as far as producing, as far as being on air, as far as commercials. Like, I literally took that experience and made it my own, to the point where my professor allowed me to basically, as part of my college credits, I was able to get a college credit for my internship, and the radio station manager at the time allowed me to have my own radio show as a final project. Like, I learned so much. I was like, I saw how the business worked, and as a final project, he let me have my own radio shows on a Saturday night for 1 hour on an AM station. But as a college kid, that was like the biggest thing ever for me.
Huge deal for everyone.
It was super, super cool. And so I took that opportunity and I ran with it. It was a horrible show, looking back at my career and having to go down the path of the radio world. Looking back on that first radio show, it was awful. But it was a start. And so I had some radio experience going into this radio station that was being created here in Tampa. And I submitted for it to be on the air. And at that time, they didn't have DJs, but they had this promo team. And I basically finagled through 5 different interviews for a part-time job on a promo team. I got my foot in the door on the promotions team for this radio station. And that was as I was leaving USF. So here I am coming out of USF. I have my foot in the door at a radio station in the promotions department. And I knew that I was just like I did at the AM station. I was going to learn every facet of that business. I'm going to learn how to run the board. I'm going to sit behind when they do have a DJ. I'm going to sit behind and watch him run the board. How does he do his breaks? Where's he getting his entertainment? How's he coming up where did he come with that idea to say what he just said or she? And so I knew I was going to take that opportunity and learn from it and be the best at it. And that's exactly what happened. And so I started board hopping shows later in the evening for the DJs that were eventually hired, and eventually started doing overnights, and then eventually became the assistant promotions director. And then sure enough, an opportunity presented itself. The night DJ at the radio station was let go, and I became the bridge over water, so to speak, until they could put out their feelers across the country that the new hot radio station in Tampa had a night DJ opening. Who doesn't want to come work here? Yeah. And being the bridge over water, believe it or not, was my opportunity to show them what I was made of. I'm a Tampa dude. I went to college here. I know the scene. I know Ybor, all the party spots. And so I took the opportunity and I ran with it. And sure enough, the ratings started going up while they were in the process of looking for that next talent. And they said, all right, we can take our time right now. Things are going kind of well. And so they kept going better. They kept getting better and better and better. And so they finally said, why are we looking outside of our market if we have our guy here now? And the ratings are proving that this guy is doing a great job. Let's just stick with it. And that's how my radio career started. I became the night DJ at Wild 98.7. That was in 1999. And did that for literally almost 7 years. Was the #1 rated night show in Tampa. Just like it is in radio, things, all good things must come to an end. My contract was up and they wanted to go a different direction, as they will say sometimes in the industry, which normally means whatever that means. And so I got it, I'm like, I get it. Maybe it's time for me to fly anyways. Maybe I've done everything I can do here. And so I did some job interviews. It was pretty cool, actually. I got flown all across the country at different radio stations, Minneapolis, New Orleans, Kansas City. These program directors literally will fly you up. They'll pick you up in the station vehicle, bring you to the station, schmooze you, walk you around, meet everybody. They'll take you out to their hot spot, to show you the city. And it was actually really cool. But I held out because for whatever reason, I didn't feel that anything that was being presented to me was the right fit. And so sure enough, this is in 2005, 2006-ish. Okay. The guy that hired me originally to get that part-time promotions position at the radio station, he left 1 year into that station's birth to take the job as vice president of marketing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And again, this was in 1999-ish when I had just started to get on the air. Here I was, the night guy at their hot radio station in Tampa. Here he was, the vice president of marketing for the hockey team. And so as you know, Bella, like radio, media, sports all go hand in hand. You'd see out at pregame on the plaza at Fort Thunder Alley, you'd see radio stations out there. You'll have live music out there. There's sponsors out there. So he was in control of all of that. And so I would see him out there doing radio station promos. We kept in contact with each other. And so here is the end of my radio stint. I had reached out to him just to let him know that I was a free agent. And he obviously was like, man, if I had anything available that you'd be a good fit for, you'd be the first person I would call. And so I'm like, well, that's good enough for me. If my resume is on the top of your stack, that's good enough for me. One day out of the blue, he calls me and he's basically like, hey, I need you to come to the arena tonight. Wear a suit.
I'm so excited.
I was like, okay, what is this? What's going on? He's just like, I just meet me at the administration entrance at 6 o'clock, wear a suit. He really didn't say a whole lot during that night. Like I just kind of stood there and observed the plaza activities with him. I observed just some of the stuff on the concourse. He just said, just observe. I want you to give me your input on the things that you see here tonight. And so that's what we did for the first, half of the game. And we went down to his office afterwards and he told me, he said, basically, I have this person whose job it is here to oversee our plaza for pregame. There's a bunch of other facets within the marketing department that we oversee. Like I'm kind of putting feelers out there for somebody that might be better suited for that spot.
My smile is so big right now because I'm so excited.
And so sure enough, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks later, he called me and said that an incident had happened. That's all he said. And he was looking to replace that individual. And so I went back in for another interview, met with some other folks within the organization. And sure enough, I ended up getting the job. And so I became the marketing coordinator for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that was in 2006. And that was right before we got Steven Stamkos, which was in 2008. We did some pretty cutting edge stuff. It was literally 3 of us in the marketing department. It was me, it was Mark, who was my boss, and my buddy Bobby. And we were literally like that whole department. And we learned so much in those few years, like literally media buying, as far as who's running those like commercials that you see for the Lightning on all the TV stations. Well, who's creating those? Is that us? Do we work with an agency? Do they create those? Who's purchasing? Back then we used to do a lot of premium items. Like every night there'd be like a rally towel, a bobblehead night, like a whole series of bobbleheads or whatever. So all like the premium items, the giveaway stuff, it was my job also to handle all the entertainment out on Fourth Thunder Alley, the kids games, anything that we would do interact with the kids, kind of working with sponsorship to set up those vendor spaces. And so that was also a part of our job in marketing. But we took it a step further. We were doing viral videos, which some of them actually got picked up by national television. I would encourage you guys to go to YouTube and search mascot terrorizes spring breaker. We literally had an inflatable Thunderbug costume that our Thunderbug would get inside of. And it was like this massive, huge inflatable. And it had like an air fan. So it's just like this big goofy inflatable thing walking around the beach. But we would like go out to Clearwater Beach and we just videotaped like hidden camera of him messing with people, kids, adults. And it was hilarious. And it was literally like a 2-minute video that we threw up on YouTube. And all it just said, it didn't say anything about lightning. It didn't say anything. It just said mascot terrorizes spring break.
Oh gosh.
Sure enough, a month later, we get a phone call or an email in the marketing department from Entertainment Television, who said, hey, we're doing our spring breaks, our E's Wildest Spring Break Moments show, and we'd like to use this video piece. And we did the research and found that it was you guys that uploaded it to YouTube. So we're reaching out to you. Are you responsible for this video? And we're like, holy crap, dude, like Entertainment Television is like a big deal. We went to our boss, Mark. We're like, dude, look at this email. He's like, is this real? We're like, I think it's real. And so he reached out on behalf of the organization and said, yes, it's us. What did you want it for? And then they explained it. And they ended up having to pay the Lightning to use that video. Okay. So our viral video got national TV attention, and it made the company money because they had to pay the Lightning the rights to use the video, which, by the way, we didn't get a cut of that, which I'm still a little salty about.
But you have the pride.
We do have the pride. And so we did some You Got Pucked videos, which also are on YouTube. And then the Scene Stamkos stuff was some of the legendary stuff we did in the marketing department when I was there. And that led to me being the host. 2007-ish. Back then, the Lightning had 2 hosts. They had Jenny and they had this dude Todd. And sometimes they would co-host. Sometimes it would be one night, it'd be one another. And so on this particular night, Todd was out of town on business, and Jenny Dean had a family emergency literally like 2 hours before puck drop. And I happened to be in my boss's office. I'm in my office. My boss's office is literally down the hallway. And so I'm in my office and I hear the game night director in my boss's office basically stating, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. It's 2 hours before puck drop. And I'm of course eavesdropping, like, what are they talking about? And so I'm hearing all this going on. And so basically that's what I understood was she had a family emergency. He's not in town. We're 2 hours before puck drop, that we're getting ready to start the game night. We don't have a host. As Bella can tell you, like, there's sponsorship obligations. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. And now you don't have anybody that's capable. So I literally go, I am eavesdropping. So I knock on the door. I'm like, you know, my background in radio, you know, I've been in front of crowds. I know the importance of sponsors. Like I understand, I've seen the game night a million times. Put me in. I'm more than capable to handle this. And what choice do you really have? And so he looked at the game day director and he looked at it and he's literally like, you don't have a choice. He's like, put him in. He's like, it's better than nothing. And so he's like, all right, Wolf, you're in. And I was like, holy crap, I'm about to go host my first NHL game. And so I went in, crushed it. Because again, it's one of those opportunities. It's not your job. You're just filling in. So for me, there was no pressure. I know a lot of people would go, well, that's a high pressure situation. But again, I came from radio. So being in front of people was my job forever. So I had no problems doing it. I was so excited to do it that I wanted to do a good job. And I hope that my excitement and enthusiasm came out in the bits and the contests and things that we were doing. Because again, I'm a fan as well. So I wanted to come across as like, I'm the biggest fan, just like you are. So let's go win this puck, or let's go do this contest and win you money, or whatever it was. So absolutely crushed it.
I killed it.
I know I killed it that night, but I got good feedback. We got good feedback from the people in the organization, and they were like, this is good to know. God forbid we never have another situation. We know that we have a sub that can fill in. And so that was like in the 07 season. And I may have done it one other time that season. I don't recall. And then sure enough, heading into the 2007, 2008 season, the guy Todd left the market and Jenny Dean got a job, I want to say either on radio or TV, and took that job. And so I kind of slid into the role. It just happened to be, again, I didn't really have to try out, where I know in the sports world, a lot of those times, those kind of things, when those positions become available, they're going to have tryouts and they're going to have auditions and let people from all over come and try to, you know, as we did every year for the Bolt Brigade, same thing with the Lightning Girl auditions. Like, you have to audition for those things. And I think, again, just being circumstantial, right place at the right time, having done it a couple times prior, I guess that they felt that they didn't need to go through that process because, like, we have our guy. And so I started doing that in the 2007, 2008 season. Which was awesome because, again, I was doing the marketing as my day job, and then I was already there in the arena. I would flip gears, switch out my fit, and then I'd go do the hosting stuff. And then I still had marketing responsibilities too. Like for the holiday games, I used to have to run up to the roof and fire up snow machines that would snow down onto the plaza at the end of the night. I used to like work probably 15-hour days working in the office, doing the game night and doing post-game stuff as well. But again, I loved every second of it. So that's where I kind of fell into the role as host.
You touch base on your higher education. Now,
Yes.
For people getting into hosting, do you believe it's important to have a higher education? And if so, what classes do you recommend that they take?
That's a good question. For me, again, my path is going to be different than anybody else's. So the way that it happened for me is not going to be how it is for everybody else. Now, with that being said, I do think that if you are in college and this is something that you're interested in pursuing, then you need to utilize the resources of your university and find out how you can be the host or MC or whatever it is for any of the sports that have a crowd, whether that's soccer, whether that's tennis. I mean, obviously basketball, men's and women's basketball, football, because I am the host for USF for football and men's and women's basketball as well. But again, that's my alma mater. If there's a way for you to get to that sports entity or the director or the coach or whoever it is and say, I'd like to be involved, if that means, like, again, I'm the MC of that game, or if I'm the host of the game, if you can get a microphone and get in front of a crowd, that's going to be the best way for you to learn how to get into that world. And even if it's not at a university, well, guess what? There's community colleges that have basketball. There's high schools that have sports. So if it's high school sports, if it's college sports, if it's youth sports, whatever you can do to get yourself that experience to get on a microphone, get in front of a camera, or get in front of a crowd, I would suggest you do that. You don't have to be in college to do that, but if you are, that's going to be a help.
So even if, I mean, you've touched on it, but even if somebody isn't in college,
Right.
it's all about getting that experience. So, because my next follow-up question was, okay, if college is not a necessity, then where would one go to gain knowledge and experience? But you're saying if there's community sports of some sort, going in to try to host those, just as long as you kind of make your own path and it's really going out to the community. Okay, you're not in school, but let's go to the community. Let's see what public avenues there are that you would go as a fan, and then you can create your own road in a hosting.
Because it really sounds like, and I was going to ask what the typical path is, because you said that your path is not typical, and it doesn't really sound like there is a typical path to this industry. It's just a space where you got to get scrappy and seize an opportunity if you see it.
Correct. It's 100% correct. It's one of those situations where you're going to be in the right place at the right time, or you're going to demonstrate the willingness to want to get to that position. So yes, I think any avenue that you can get yourself out in front of people, that's going to be your best start, because going from a crowd in front of an auditorium or a gymnasium at a school event to now in front of 20,000 people or 70,000 people in front of a football stadium, you have to build up to that. And so there has to be a place and a position for you to start somewhere. So I would even say, even if it's not sports related, if it's a community effort, if it's a city effort, because again, the city of Tampa, just here locally, it doesn't matter what city you're in, excuse me, they're going to have community events where they have speakers, or there's a festival where, you know, they need somebody to kind of be the run of show, to just go up there and make announcements or shout off the sponsors. Not everybody wants that opportunity or wants to do that. But if you want to do that and you let the powers that be know, hey, I'm a college kid, I really want the experience, can I host this event for you free of charge? And you just give me the schedule and I'll do whatever you need. If you're showing initiative to do those kinds of things, those opportunities are going to lead to other opportunities because somebody saw you or they liked the way that you did something, like that person was entertaining or whatever it's going to be. That's going to lead you to those opportunities that those doors are going to open. So it doesn't have to be sports related.
And I want to pull out something that you said there when you said that you want to be in the right place at the right time. I want our listeners to know that you can create those opportunities for yourself. You can put yourself in the right place at the right time. Just talk to people, like open yourself up and be open to those opportunities, and they will come to you.
Correct. And networking is another one. And I know we're in a weird time right now with COVID, and it's hard to kind of get out and network with folks, but there's other digital platforms that you can do that, whether it's on LinkedIn, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, following influencers, searching keywords or hashtags that fall within the industry that you're trying to become or be involved in. There's ways for you to connect with people and pick their brain. Again, if people reach out to me all the time on DMs on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, because they have questions related to either what I'm doing, whether it's something I was talking about or whatever, there's accessibility now with the social media world that did not exist when I started. So there's way more avenues and opportunities now for you to create those opportunities for yourself.
Did you hear that, guys? You heard it here first. Slide into the DMs.
There's definitely protocol and proper etiquette in doing that, and you got to learn that on your own. I'm not going to teach you that, but to just know that going in, there's a certain technique.
Shoot your professional shot.
Shoot it. Why not? You never know. You never know.
So, Greg, for people that want to gain experience, you're saying that they could walk up in a situation and say, I don't have experience, but I'm here, I'm eager to learn. Do you expect a script, or is there a lot of improv that goes into it?
So for all of the sporting events and even community events, charity events, whatever, typically there's always a run of show or a script, so to speak. Now, for sporting events like, you know, hockey, football, basketball, there's TV aspects that change a lot of that, because every single second is accounted for, not the minute. It is down to the second. So everything is very much timed. So it is very much a script. It is an absolute show, which I don't think people realize. They turn the TV on, the game is on. It's like, oh, but what they don't realize behind the scene is this is a script. It's a scripted show, just like anything else, because you have to have these touch points and these key points that you have to get to. So everything is very much scripted. Now, when you say scripted, that means two different things. There's a script, which is a run of show, which basically tells you all the times and the key points and the camera angles and who's going to be talking at which point. But then the script also means this is the content. This is the information that you need to dispel. So for me, I've done it so many years now that it is in a script format and certain breaks are written out for you. However, I only have bullet points, and these are the key points, whether that's a key sponsor, it's a key tidbit of information, it's a fact, it's a year, it's something that I have to absolutely have in this break. I have that information in front of me. But the rest of it is being freestyle because, again, I've done it for so long that the one thing if I was going to critique other hosts in sports or television, my biggest pet peeve is people that read. And that's hard because you can attest to this, Isabella, being on the plaza and having to deal with our director, John Franzone. He will write things out word for word, like a legit novel. And then you're like, am I supposed to read all of this? Because if it's in there, it must be important. So I have to read it all. And so you're literally sitting there with a microphone and you're just like this, reading this entire script. And it's just like, you don't need to do that. And I think a lot of people don't realize that sometimes directors do that because that's their vision of how they would like to see it come out. But at the same time, you don't have to do it that way. You can put it in your own words. And so, again, it goes both ways. Yes, there is a script for some people that need it. Some people need that. They go, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This is a lot of information. There's a lot of key points and individuals that I need to make sure I'm mentioning or whatever. So yes, you're going to need that, and you're going to need that information in a script format. So they will provide that for you because any event, any charity event, any sporting event, they can't expect you to know those things. So they're going to provide that for you. And we always have a meeting before games or meetings before events because I need to know for myself the run of show. I need to know those cue points. I need to know if I'm going to throw it to this person. Are you going to throw it back to me? Am I going to send it over to you? Am I just going to wrap up the break? There's a lot of questions I'm going to have so that when it does come to me, I know I'm on point with what I need to say, boom, and I'm out. So again, that takes years of practice and years of learning, but typically they're going to provide you with that information prior to.
So when they provide you kind of with your information, with your guidance, do they also provide all of your gear? Do I need
Yes.
Okay.
The gear thing, and I get that question all the time. I get new gear, and you'll understand why. Every season normally I do my shopping 2 days before opening night, just because I know that the newest of the new stuff is going to be in the team store. Now, again, Isabella can attest to this. We're running around the arena so much during game nights and interacting with so many different fans on any given game night that the host should be a walking billboard for what is in the store. Because at the end of the day, if I have a hat on that is some brand new hat that the fans never seen before, or I'm rocking a polo, or I'm rocking a sweatshirt, whatever it is, if I had $1 for every time a fan came up to me and asked me, where'd you get that hat? Where'd you get that sweatshirt? Oh my God, I've been looking for that. Where did you get it? The team would owe me so much more money because I sold them that many more items. So you should be decked out in all the freshest gear every season. And that's the other thing too, is that every season it changes. So I'm not supposed to wear stuff from previous seasons. And when we went from Reebok to Adidas, all of my Reebok gear, I can't wear that anymore, especially on camera. Because if I'm an Adidas rep and I see him wearing Reebok stuff and we're not Reebok anymore, like I'd be pissed. I get new gear every season because I have to be that walking billboard for merchandising purposes. So
highly perked.
That's a great perk.
So this might be a dumb question, but I know that sports anchors have to get their makeup done. Do you have to get hair and makeup?
I do not, believe it or not, even with the high definition cameras that we have at Amalie and it's HD in your face and the camera's in your face. So I really have not done the makeup thing. It's funny because I just did an infomercial a couple weeks ago with my wife. We were involved in something and they did the whole thing with the makeup so that you don't have the shiny forehead and the shiny all that. And I was like, this is great. Like, I would love to have this, but no, it's not in the budget for the host to have a makeup artist on game nights. As much as I think it would be cool, but no, I don't.
For people that are getting into, whether they're beginning or seasoned,
Sure.
do people need to have a personal interest in the subject and or sport they're hosting?
I would hope so. I mean, because again, if I do not know the first thing about knitting, I'm not going to take a gig for the Home Shopping Network where I'm going to have to be crocheting and like knitting stuff, because that's not something that I'm necessarily interested in. And I would suggest that sometimes it's not necessarily about the money, and some people, that's what they're in it for. I would suggest that if this is the line of work that you want to get into, it should be more about the passion. It should not be about the money, to be honest with you, because if you love what you do, and I know it sounds cliche, you'll never work a day in your life, but that's the 100% truth. And the fact that we've been in this COVID situation and I have not been able to do what I love, it's literally breaking my heart to not be able to do it. So that's something that you should absolutely hone in on. So if you love football and that's like the world you want to live in because that's your passion, then you should, maybe try to go that lane. Now, if that means I got to go do lacrosse and I got to go do softball in order to get to football, then that's the path that you're going to have to take. You're going to have to figure that out. But you should know something about softball. You should know something about the team that you're covering. You should know the rules of the sport, because again, you're going to interact with people and they're going to ask you questions. I get questions all the time about players and their wives. Did you know so-and-so had a baby and their kids, shoe size is 2? And I'm like, what? Like, so you're going to get stuff, and you got to at least know, the world that you're in. So it doesn't necessarily mean that has to be your favorite sport or your favorite subject, but you should follow the paths that are going to lead to that subject.
So when I'm trying to learn about like lacrosse and softball and hockey and football or whatever path I choose to take, do you have any like recommendations for specific outlets or books or sources of information?
Honestly, as far as that world goes, there's a lot of research out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of books that have been written by people that have been in the media industry. We know there's a ton of books out there, but again, you're going to have to do the research to find what interests you, what authors you like. Because again, some of the books that I've read, whether it's marketing related or advertising related, because I have my own marketing company, I didn't really focus too much on that stuff, because again, I was doing it in the real world. Like there's no better experience than a real world experience. I mean, I can read it in a book. I can be motivated by, people that are motivational speakers to make me feel uplifted, and anybody can find those anywhere. But for me, networking is really the key, because you don't know who you're going to meet in the industry that you could have a conversation with, and that could trigger something in their mind that they remember, oh my God, my friend's daughter is in that industry and she'd be a good person for you to link up with. So the networking aspect, I think nowadays to me is crucial. And LinkedIn, obviously that's more work related as far as a social platform. Another good one besides LinkedIn is, God, I just brain farted. Well, obviously, any of the socials. I mean, if you keep up with any of the socials, you can find people that you enjoy following or you like their work. Obviously, follow what they're doing. Shold, SHOLD, Shold Tyler. His group is a media group. Again, it's SHOLD. His whole group is all focused on industry individuals that are in sports media. So it's literally his Instagram is Sports Media Life. So it's at Sports Media Life. They are completely connected to all the female sports reporters, the anchors, the in-game hosts from all the sports, from college to minor league to the majors. I've connected with a lot of the other in-game hosts because of his platform. And that's pretty cool, because it's kind of become like a sorority fraternity between a lot of us. Like, we've started camaraderies and we started challenging each other during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Me and Johnny Root, who's over at San Jose, and then my buddy Big D, who's over at Las Vegas, and then Angela, who was with St. Louis. So we kind of all stay connected with each other now on those platforms. So definitely good people to connect with, who can definitely at least, pick their brain. A lot of these people are willing to talk to you and give you insight and information if you ask them questions.
And Greg, what would you say would be the largest difference between an amateur host and a professional host?
Experience. But it's just, there's an amateur and then there's a professional. There's a difference. And I just think, again, that takes years of practice. Just the way that you deliver it. Some people you'll notice, I don't want to say fake, not fakeness, because I don't know if that's the right word, but like they're almost trying too hard. And that it'll come across on camera that way. Like you're trying too hard to like either do something or say something, or you're real stiff, and it's just relax and just be in the moment and just, live for that moment. And I think it takes a lot of time to be able to get comfortable, to be able to just live in that moment. And again, there's the only word, it's the only thing I can really tell you is experience to answer that question. And you're going to get better the more you do it.
With that, is there a difference between somebody calling themselves an MC and somebody calling themselves a host?
I think they're both the same terms. An MC, some people may construe a PA announcer, like a Paul Porter, who announces things during a game as far as like the goals or introducing the players. Some people may say that's the host or that's the MC, and that's not the case. That's a PA announcer, a public address, or a public announcer. That can be construed as a host or an MC, though, whereas you have me, who is the MC or host, because it's my job to kind of keep the circus moving, so to speak. Like my job is to be the guy to go from transition. So if we're going from intermission, the game and the entertainment's not supposed to stop. And so it's my job to kind of carry things from one segment to the next. The PA announcer, the MC, if you will, is there to just announce.
And I feel that even backpacking on that, I think a reason too people aren't as aware when an in-game host is doing their job, it's because their job is to be so seamless. You're just like, wow, that felt really good. I really enjoyed myself, because they're bringing you through the entire journey that you didn't even know there was a choice not to be comfortable.
Correct.
So backpacking with that as well, what do you think the huge difference is between outdoor arena hosting and indoor arena hosting? Do you think that there's a major difference?
Yeah, there's a difference. There's definitely a difference between when I'm hosting games for the Lightning and then when I'm at Raymond James Stadium hosting for USF or a bowl game. The biggest difference is the sheer size of the arena. Again, years of experience, we've kind of cut down on my travel around during game nights, because again, we've been in those situations. We didn't have to be in that situation, but again, we were at the mercy of the game clock. There's not a whole lot of difference, because again, you're going to have a director in your ear. You're going to have a script of the game. You're going to know what time you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be. So not really a huge difference between a stadium and an arena.
Is there a difference between the two sports? Like, is there like a big shift that you might make to transition?
Not necessarily, because again, your job is to be like, like Bella said, you're there to really just kind of be seamless. If they're entertained, they don't move from their seat. They're like, oh, that's really cool, or they're claps. Really the way you're supposed to look at it. You know what I'm talking about.
We talked about, the difference with amateur and professional is really being in the moment. So the next question is, do you have a mental and emotional prep beforehand? Is there any mantras, any sayings that you say to yourself daily or weekly before you're on set? And say a moment happens that you're not in the moment, you're in your head, or something of fear tapped in. What do you do to get back in your feet, grounded, and say, okay, Greg, I'm right here. This is what I'm doing. I'm settled. How do you get yourself there?
Again, the prep pregame really is just getting together with your team to make sure that you know exactly what you're supposed to do that night, where you're supposed to be. For me, the biggest thing for me is pronunciations, because there's so many times where we'll have either special guests, We'll have honorary heroes or kids that, you know, are fighting cancer and like this is their moment to be showcased. And like, I do not want to mess this up. I don't want to mess their name up. So like, even when we do the shootouts with the mites and the little kids on the ice, again, that's a huge moment for them and their parents. I'm not trying to mess it up. I will go to every kid and ask them, can you pronounce your name for me? And I'll write it down the way that I would pronounce it, not how it's spelled. You know what I mean? Because your name may have a bunch of Z's and all, like what? I'm going to write it down on my script that how I would phonetically say that. Just comes with experience. I know before that mic or that camera goes live, I've already rehearsed in my mind 20 times how I'm going to say it, what I'm going to do. The craziest times where you're not ready for the curveballs, and they happen all the time, is how contests don't go the way that they're planned, which happens all the time, or kids, because you don't know how kids are going to react or what kids are going to say.
So as a host, it sounds like your most valuable commodity is your voice. Is there anything that you do to protect your voice? Do you do warm-ups? Do you drink any special tea?
Not necessarily. Again, I try to rest, especially before a game night. I'm not going to be, you know, screaming at the top of my lungs or do anything crazy before that. I did have to have my tonsils removed a few seasons ago after a USF football game because they were so infected and I was screaming so much that game that I literally burst. It like burst and was just, I literally had it was awful. As an adult, I know you get your tonsils out when you're a kid. As an adult, awful. There's no other surgery I can think of that is worse than a tonsillectomy as an adult, because it's literally like you have 2 stab wounds in your throat and you can't do anything about it. You just have to heal on their own. So it's like, good luck. It's awful. So I'm glad that's over with. But yeah, that's my battle scars, man. I mean,
You're like, do you know what happened over here from how good of announcing I am?
I got stabbed in my throat twice and I'm still here. So
It was so good they exploded. You're welcome.
They did.
50 cent.
No doubt.
I was going to ask next was natural remedies. So we're saying some lemon, some honey, some resting of your throat. I guess my next question would be, did you develop a better range in your voice from the beginning of hosting to where you are now?
Yes, I would say, and again, being on the radio for 7 years, that was really the tune-up, I guess, so to speak, for the hosting career. Knowing how to project your voice, knowing in those instances where you have to bring it. And it really does. I know they say like it comes from like your diaphragm, from like your gut, but it does. Because I know, again, after years of experience, you've seen the Stanley Cup playoffs, like it's my job to get this place out of their mind. You literally have to bring that from your core. And so to be able to project, it's like you said, it's your instrument, and it takes years of practice to be able to get that oomph out, projected it out, so that the rest of the crowd can feel that. It's one of those things that's really hard to teach. It's hard to teach somebody how to feel that or how to project that from their core. It just takes practice and getting out there and doing it.
Say that they haven't had, voice and diction in college, or they haven't trained with anybody professionally when it comes to their voice and it comes to learning how to project and where to get that from. Do you have any recommendations of coaches and or YouTube tutorials or videos that they could watch? Any avenue besides them doing their own research, something that you as Greg?
I didn't go down that route, but I know there are vocal coaches out there. Your job as a host is to figure out, okay, well, how do I project my voice without screaming? Like, that's the key, is how do I talk with passion and how do I talk with some gusto, but not sound like I'm screaming at you?
This has been so informative. I've learned so much tonight, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been really fun.
I appreciate it.
There were maybe 5 things that you could tell someone who is looking to get started. If you could sum up the last hour with 5 key points, what would those be?
Well, first, I would say never give up or pass on an opportunity if you feel that that opportunity at some point can help further your career path or just your goals. Is this A, going to help me accomplish my goals? B, is this going to get me seen to the crowd that I hope sees what I'm doing and could lead to other opportunities? Because again, you never know who's watching, and you never know who's attending events that you may be at. If you have the opportunity to do something and you think at any way, shape, or form that it could help you either advance your skill level or it could lead to an opportunity in the future, do it. Second point I would say is whatever you do, you need to practice. If you do it every day, day in and out, day out, you're going to get better. If you don't get better at it, then maybe you should look to do something else at the end of the day. Because, I mean, not everybody's great at everything, you know what I mean? And so you'll know if you're getting good at it. And people will tell you, hey, you're really good at that event. Or, you know, I've got a buddy who I think you'd be great to work with them. So third point, again, I know we're in a COVID world right now and it's tough. But networking is going to be an absolute key for you if you're trying to get into the sports and entertainment industry. Teamwork Online always posts anything in the sports industry, whether it's corporate jobs, whether it's hosting stuff, whether it's marketing, it's sales. It doesn't matter if it's for MLS, NFL, whatever. And they have job boards and they have internships. They have it is an amazing resource. So if you're looking to get into the sports industry, teamworkonline.com is another fantastic resource for you. Reaching out to people that you're interested in that are in your career path, sliding into those DMs, just saying, I'd like to introduce myself. I follow your work. I'm a big fan. I'm interested. Do you have any points, tips for me or whatever, like the things we're talking about here? You should absolutely try to at least reach out to them. The worst they can do is not respond to you, but at least you tried, and you never know. Somebody may reply to you. Fourth point, I would say, again, is if this is something you really want to do with your life and, this is the avenue that you want to go, you have to put in the effort. You have to put in the work. You have to figure it out on your own. And again, it doesn't matter if you're doing some minor league baseball team, some kids soccer game, whatever, you have to carve that path out yourself. It's not going to land on your plate. You're going to have to go out and you're going to have to pave that path yourself. So the best advice I can give you is to get out there, find those opportunities. And if those opportunities are not presenting themselves, you have to make those opportunities for yourself. Finally, I would say the last point would be don't give up. I mean, because at the end of the day, not every opportunity and every avenue is going to lead you to the promised land. You're going to hit a lot of roadblocks on the way, but don't get discouraged. Don't give up. If that's something that you're passionate about, and again, do something you love. If this is what you're passionate about, don't give up. You're going to get sidetracked. People are going to try to knock you down. They're going to tell you you're not good enough.
Greg, I mean, the insight you gave us today, it not only helps seasoned hosts, but it also helps people that are interested in getting into the field. So thank you for your time.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.